Hey, this is Jorge, and today I want to talk about juicing for hypothyroidism. So, a lot of people ask me a lot about my diet. What are some of the things that I did? And one of the things that I feel helped me the most was juicing, and specifically green juices were what I feel helped me out a lot. And so today I want to kind of give you a little walkthrough, a little, kind of like let you see, how I juice and the things that I do when I juice. And so primarily I like to use green apples for my juices. So I like to do about 2 apples per juice. I actually have 4 in here because I'm doing enough for 2 people. But I've got 2, 1 serving, basically 1 juice. The way that I would do it is 2 apples, and then I'll do about 2 to 3 leaves of kale. And I also have watercress in here, some dandelion greens, and then I have some ginger root. And again, like this is how much I'm going to use for 2, so I would use about half of this for 1. And then I also like to use lime. Whenever I have cucumber, I like to use cucumber a lot, and then I like to use spinach. And so I'm just gonna like walk you through this. It's very simple. I've had a lot of juicers, and this one that I use now, it's I don't even know the model of it, but it's basically a cravings. I'll probably post that or something. But I like this one mostly because I don't have to prepare as much as like some of my other juicers where I used to have to like cut these, like the apples into like bigger pieces. This one seems to take bigger pieces. But anyway, so as a juice, I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that I feel have, some of the ways that juicing has helped me personally. And I think there's a lot of reasons. I think like the biggest thing with juicing, and one of the things that I did starting out was that I actually used juicing as a way to nourish my body and give my body the nutrients that it needed while I fasted. Because I think the biggest thing, and if I want to be more clear, more direct as far as like what I did, it wasn't so much that I did juicing as much as I did I fasted. That's really what I did through juicing. And so juicing was just a way for me to still get nutrients and still have energy, basically. Because if you just fast starting out and you're already kind of like sick and feeling lethargic, like I had like no energy whatsoever, which is one of the reasons why I started to change my lifestyle and become a little bit more healthy. If you just do that, if you just like fast, then it's very likely that you'll have even less energy starting out. And so for me, juicing was a way for me to avoid that and get that nutrition basically that my body needs. But fasting, really what fasting was doing for me was that it was basically allowing my gut to take a break. Allowing my gut to take a break from all the food. And one of the things that I've learned, over the last 3 years that I've been on this little journey of, improving my health and taking care of my hypothyroidism and stuff, I've found that we don't really need to eat as much as we think we do. And I'm saying this going back to, the time before I started this, because I used to eat about, I don't know, anywhere between 6 to 7 meals a day, because that's what I read. That's what I read in some books. That's what I read some bodybuilders used to do, space out their meals, small meals throughout the day. And that's basically what I was used to doing. And so the thought of fasting for me back then was, kind of foreign. Not only foreign, I was frankly a bit scared to basically go a full day without eating food. And it wasn't until I actually did it, just pulled the trigger, just got into juicing, that I started to see, why that was the wrong kind of thinking. It wasn't so much that I was hungry, myself, as much as I started to realize that it was what was living inside me, all the bad bacteria, parasites, yeast, mold, fungus, and stuff like that. That's what was making me hungry, more so than the other things. And so as long as your body has the right nutrients, the right minerals and stuff like that, your body can survive for a long time without food, it doesn't mean you're going to go without food. It just means that, if you're hungry, that basically means that you have other things to worry about. So anyways, juicing, again, I used it as a way to fast, as a tool to fast. But I think another thing that I found really helped me, especially with the green juices, a lot of people that I meet, that I talk to, that have hypothyroidism, they all seem to have one thing in common, and that is that if they were to go out and get some sun, they go out in the sun, they get sunburned very, very easily. And that used to be the case for me. And, a lot of people, a lot of my friends were kind of like surprised because, obviously I'm Hispanic, so my skin is a little bit darker. And some of my friends were surprised at how bad I used to get sunburned, including, I have a friend from Montana. His name is Dwayne, and he is a borderline ginger, kind of like, Scottish descent, semi-reddish type of hair, very, very pale, not necessarily pale, but, a lot whiter than I am, basically. And we went out golfing one day, and I was in the shade most of the time. He was out in the sun pretty much the entire time, and I was the one that got sunburned, even though I was also wearing, SPF like 50 or something, crazy, something high like that. And so those were like some of those, experiences that kind of like told me that, there was something wrong. And then later on, I learned and realized that, your skin, if your skin burns, it's not so much because of the color of your skin, as much as it is because of the toxicity on your skin. And so some of the things that I started doing was skin cleansing and green juices. The thing I like about doing green juices is the all your green kind of like leaves and vegetables, they have chlorophyll, and that helps to clean out your skin from the inside out. And it also helps your body, your skin, I should say, it makes it so that it becomes more like a solar panel. So when you're out in the sun, it's actually absorbing, the good sunlight, and that's something that you need in order to produce vitamin D. And so this is something that's, a topic that a lot of people, I myself included, I used to think that, being out in the sun was kind of like bad. There's a lot of, I guess you call it confusion, a lot of misinformation, a lot of different opinions, if you will, on the topic. And for me personally, it just made sense. After I juiced for a while, one of the things that I noticed was that I was able to go out in the sun and not get sunburned. And it's not that I don't get sunburned, but I can stay out in the sun longer than I used to, and I just wouldn't get as burned as I would used to get, and most importantly, because I was able to be out in the sun more than I used to before. What I started to notice was that my vitamin D levels were going up. And again, with hypothyroidism, this is something that I've been noticing, and I've read a lot that there's basically when I was basically initially doing my research on the topic, I was finding that people were recommending supplements, and some of those supplements were based on the findings that a lot of people that have hypothyroidism are usually deficient in selenium, vitamin D, and iodine, I guess, would be the third one. And so vitamin D, this is basically the way that I found to solve that. So instead of taking a vitamin D supplement, I basically allowed my body to get it directly from the source, which in my case I used the sun for that. So those were like some of the major benefits. And then another benefit that I saw was back then when I started juicing, One of the things that I was noticing with my diet was that I was having a really, really hard time digesting food, and with a lot of the problems that I think spring up, I guess I will call it, or that come along with hypothyroidism. I think that a lot of them are, have to do with, digestive issues, because, the bad bacteria in your gut, that's what's going to, you know, give you all those bad issues. And at the same time, if you have bad bacteria, what I noticed is back then, a lot of the things that I was having, like digestion problems, were not only, it wasn't just digestion problems that I had, but there's also a lot of allergies, a lot of food allergies and just allergies in general. So like when allergy season came around, I used to sneeze a lot and basically have the sniffles and all of that, and that's one thing that I noticed when I went on my juicing diet. For one, I didn't have to worry about digesting food because obviously this is basically a liquid. And so it doesn't really require much digestion. I mean, your body basically uptakes this almost immediately. And, well, initially, your body's cleaning itself up, so it's just kind of breaking up whatever's in your gut, getting rid of like all the extra junk. But over time, you notice how your body just basically uptakes all these nutrients almost instantly, and so the energy that you feel when you juice throughout the day is, obviously if you have hypothyroidism, any kind of energy that you get feels good. And with juicing is one of the things that I started to feel, and so those I think are some of the main things that I got out of juicing. A lot of, I know I myself was kind of like scared to just basically go on a all juice diet kind of thing when I first started. But honestly, after trying it and again, like the way that I actually started, I set out with a goal of doing it for about, I wanted to do it for like 3 days and kind of like see how that went. But even those 3 days before I started, I remember thinking to myself, because back then the idea of not eating solid food throughout the day was just scary. It really was scary. I just didn't like the idea of not eating, I guess. And so in the back of my mind, when I set out to go for 3 days of nothing but juice, I really was thinking, it's like, I want to see how the first day goes, and depending on how I feel or how that goes, if I can even make it through the first day, then I'll basically move on to do all 3 days. And so anyways, I started with those 3 days, and then those 3 days turned into a week. And it was around that time that I had a friend that shared a documentary with me called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. And so I saw this documentary, and I saw that this guy, he had other health issues. And some of the things that he talked about actually kind of resonated with me when he was talking about the allergies and not being able to like take down on any food and stuff like that. And then when I heard that, or I should say, when I saw that he went for 60 days on nothing but juice, I kind of lost that fear of not basically not having any kind of solid food throughout the day. And not only that, it kind of like encouraged me to go for even longer than that. Because after the first week, I felt so good that I decided that I wanted to, just keep doing it until basically I felt good. Because the more I juiced, the better I felt. So I figured, why stop if this is working? Why would I stop doing, something that's working, basically? And so I did. I just kept doing it, and I ended up doing about 90 days. Now, I didn't just juice, over the 90 days. I did drink other things. I made a lot of teas. I talk a lot about one of my favorite ones, which is hibiscus tea. This like really deep red, burgundy type color. one of my favorite teas, and all the teas and other drinks that I had, had a lot of, minerals, and so minerals is really what you're really after. That's basically like what's going to keep you alive, and most food nowadays has no minerals. People that still buy conventional food, most food that is grown conventional, it's supposed to only have 3 minerals: NPK, which is what's on any fertilizer. You can, I heard this from Dr. Kassar, and sure enough, I went to the store and basically look at their fertilizer and realize that most fertilizers are only have those 3 minerals, NPK. And so I started to become a little bit smarter with the food, and this is something else that I started to notice was when I started to buy ingredients that actually have nutrition, like organic ingredients, and not just organic, but actually paying attention to the source, because I think organic now has become somewhat of a marketing term. So just because something says that it's organic doesn't always mean that it is good. But as I've learned and become a little bit more educated with food, and learn to tell apart good food versus bad food, what I've realized is that sometimes it costs more to get that food, but you need less. You need less to actually feel the effects. And again, the more you clean yourself out and the more you do this kind of stuff, the less you end up having. You don't have to constantly be eating and filling yourself up with empty foods, because most of the foods that people eat are really just empty foods, empty calories, and that's why they have to just constantly keep feeding, when really it's not even necessary. So that's basically what it took to make a couple of cups of juice. And so what was this, about 17 minutes to do it, and even I kind of went a little slow because I have the headphones here and can't really move. But this is basically how I juice, and well, that's pretty much it. I think I talked about most of the major benefits. I want to show you the foam here. That's basically nitrogen, and nitrogen is kind of like the building blocks of protein. If you look at carbohydrates, basically if you break down the word hydrated carbon, or C as in carbon, H2O, it's actually like H6 whatever O3. That's a carbohydrate. If you look at a fat, it's basically the same: carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, except it has different levels, different numbers of molecules. And then a protein, the only difference is it's carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, but then it has nitrogen. That's basically the building block of an amino acid. And so I used to think that just by doing juicing that I was missing out on protein, but that's not really the case, because you are getting nitrogen, and your body will actually use that to build muscle. And this is something else that I kind of had to get over, because I had all these ideas, all these thoughts that people will tell you. It's like, oh, if you don't eat meat or whatever, you're going to lose muscle and all these things. And then I started to realize that was just not the case. And one thing that helped me see that was I was at my uncle's ranch, and he has horses, and these horses are basically nothing but muscle, and I've never seen a horse eat meat. They all eat just basically nothing but grass. Now, I'm not saying don't eat meat or anything. I'm just saying this was something that I had to get over in order for me to do 90 days of nothing but juice. And so I hope that by me showing this and kind of talking about it, that kind of at least gives you that idea, or kind of if you happen to have that fear of like me, like not eating and just juicing, if you have a fear of doing it for whatever reason, I hope that this inspires you to at least give it a try, because that's what I had to do. I didn't set out to do 90 days of juicing. I never really set out to go on this health journey, but somehow by reading and talking to other people, I became inspired to just give it a try. and frankly, it's been the best decision that I have made. I'm about 40, 45 pounds, leaner than I used to be, and I don't feel like I've actually lost muscle. When I go to the gym, I still basically lift the same amount of weight that I used to lift before. And so, I'm just kind of like working on myself, and I'm still cleaning myself up, and I'm still working on myself. I'm not exactly where I want to be yet, but obviously I'm still working on it. And so I'm just, bringing you this information as I go on my journey. And, hopefully in a few years from now, I may be more of a role model. So anyways. Hey, real quick, one thing I wanted to add, now that I actually served, this is half the serving. I saved the other half for Megan, like I said. But anyways, one thing that I want to say, I just tasted this. And this is like super spicy because of all the watercress, and the dandelion makes it kind of like bitter. And then I have a lot, quite a bit of ginger in there. But one thing I wanted to mention as far as that goes is, when I first started this, I did not like to eat vegetables or like greens. That was just not who I was. I just never really was the kind of person that would eat that kind of stuff. And so my taste buds at the time were very different than what they are like now, because when I first tried it, I wasn't exactly too fond of the taste. Like I don't know, I just felt like I was eating grass, I guess, in a way, and just didn't like that. So one thing that I wanted to mention, because I remember back then I used to need more sweet stuff. So if I were to like go back, I probably didn't use 2 apples. I probably used like maybe 3 or 4. Actually, I used to use a lot of pineapple, is what it was when I first started, because I was doing smoothies, not so much juices. But the sweetness was really what I was after, I guess, in a way, because I still hadn't changed my palate. But over time, the more that I cleaned myself out, the more that I started to actually enjoy. Where like now, when I drink this just feels so refreshing, and I can feel how this basically cleans out my body from the inside out. And there's so many things that I probably forgot to mention. Like I just remember I used to like have a lot of warts on my fingers. Like big warts, and I would freeze them all. I'll have to like freeze them all the time. And I heard that there were viruses that grow from the inside out, and the only way to get rid of them long term was to basically clean your body from the inside out. I never really knew what that meant. And so I started doing things like this, juices, and cleaning out my body from the inside out. So anyways, just wanted to add that to this video on juicing, because I think it's important, for if you're just getting started, you've never juiced, and maybe you might not like the taste. Trust me, I didn't like the taste when I first started, but the more that I did it, my palate like really changed. Whereas now, I look at sweets, like if I go to a social gathering, like a party or something, and someone brings cookies, cakes, or whatever, I look at them and I don't crave those things like I used to. I just, just doesn't appeal to me the way that it used to, where like before I would see it and I just would have to like get some. I would just have to like go and at least, eat one. Whereas now I have more self-control. Would I eat one? Maybe I could, but I don't have to. Like that sense that you can actually control yourself has been, for me, it has been life-changing, because now I can actually do things and make better choices when it comes to like food. When I go out or whenever I'm around junk food, most people just are not into this kind of lifestyle. You have to battle through that, and that's basically how I was able to do it. Just the more you do this kind of stuff, the better you'll be at that long term. So anyways, that's it, and I'll see you in the next video. Talk to you later.